Kia ora whānau, ko Tama Raihania hori tehi rimi tiri takuinga no Ngāti Pro. I'm just going to talk to you guys about where I learned how to do Tā Moko, which is Maori tattooing, stories where Tā Moko come from and to where it is at the moment.
Welcome to The Trail Less Traveled, an adventure radio series and podcast dedicated to collecting stories and sounds from around the world in order to take you back to mankind's earliest form of entertainment, storytelling. This episode was recorded on location in collaboration with Explorer Maps. Missoula, Montana is a mecca for outdoor enthusiasts, and each week we will bring you tales of adventure from both near and far, as well as information and inspiration and a few tunes to set the mood. You can subscribe to the podcast and learn about our international outreach projects at traillesstraveled.net. And now, here's your host, international expedition guide, conservationist, and yogi, Mandela.
We are on the edge of Lake Wakatipu, sitting in a 1982 Holden Kingswood, which is a pretty gangster car. And I'm sitting here with a Tohunga Tā Moko, a Moko specialist, and that is traditional Maori tattooing. His name is Tama Raihania, and he works here in Queenstown at Ototahi. Tama, first of all, thank you so much for joining me here on the Trail Less Traveled, drinking this cold beverage on the edge of Lake Wakatipu.
Kia ora whānau. My name's Tama Raihania. I hail from Ngāti Pro, which is a place called Gisborne on the east coast of the North Island. My iwi is Ngāti Pro, so my tribe is Ngāti Pro. My sub-tribe is Te Whānau Arua Taupare.
Tama, you and I met almost a year ago.
Yeah, lovely.
And I just wanted to go through the traditional way of getting a Moko tattoo from you, and it meant a lot to me to create a relationship with you first. So we actually met up for like 4 months. You did this Moko that is on my arm and means the world to me, so thank you for that.
Cool, sweet ass, that's so good.
You started out studying Moko in Gizzy, and now you're in Ototahi, and I said to you that I was going to come see you in another 10 years, and you said you might be here because you really like that tattoo shop.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about Ototahi?
Ototahi is originally from Christchurch. They had the earthquake a few years ago. I really met the boys up in Auckland when the earthquake happened. So they moved up to Auckland. That's where I met them. And then Brad, the owner, I wanted to come back down to the South Island. So he came back down Queenstown about 3 years ago. Queenstown wasn't really home for him, so he wanted to go back to Christchurch. So he started another shop back in Christchurch. And now we've got 3 shops in New Zealand all up. 1 in Auckland, 1 in Queenstown, and 1 in Christchurch, yeah. And they've been good. Yeah, for me, where Moko really started off was when I was back at school. My dad was a bone carver. My brother would like to do a lot of drawing, so I was like the youngest one. So my brother used to do a lot of drawings and just chuck them in the rubbish, and I used to go into the rubbish and pick them all out and start tracing them. So that's how it sort of started for me. But even like just living on the East Coast life, we had like 1 shop, maybe 2 shops. Yeah, everything was all based around like the marae, like that's where everyone sort of hung out. Funerals, birthdays, weddings. Just looking at the carvings on the marae and all the Maori carvings, all the tuku panels, what all the women used to do. Everything tells a story, and that's just how we lived on the East Coast. But from there, I went into school, and then I went into doing a lot of drawing more than homework, and just carried on from there. Yeah, then went to high school, and then I think I made it to 6th form, which was like year 12. Then I just went, I'm going to go to art school. So I went to Toi Haukura, an art school in Gisborne. It's contemporary Māori art. Went there for about 4 years. That's where I learned how to do moko. Yeah, it was awesome. Just got to take around the world. So that was learning under Derek Lardeli. We had like artists like Steve Gibbs from Muriwai. Derek Lardeli's from Whangarā, Manituke, and Steve's from Te Muriwai. We had Simon Lardeli. He was also a good teacher. But one of the main influences was one of my good mates, Henare Brooking, who he got taught under the Tohunga Tā Moko, Mark Kōpua. They're quite the big names at the moment. Just keeping our culture alive and keeping Moko alive more as an art scene than what people see it as, more as a kind of like a gang kind of scene in New Zealand. They've sort of brought it back for us, and now you can see if you come to New Zealand, you see more younger people wearing facial Tā Moko especially more women getting their kauai done, getting their chins done, more than men anyway. But yeah, it's just coming back to life now.
If you just joined us, we are on the trail less traveled, recording an interview with a Tohunga Tā Moko, which is a Tā Moko specialist. Now, Tama, I'd like to back it up and go towards your childhood, growing up in Gisborne, New Zealand. New Zealand was originally called Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, and we're talking about Gisborne, and this place is incredibly culturally diverse and rich. Lieutenant James Cook first made contact with the Maori there in 1769. And Tama, I just love to hear about your childhood. My first question for you is, where did you grow up, and how was adventure a part of your childhood?
I grew up in a place called Tohunga Tā Moko, which is about 45 minutes out of Gisborne. So I grew up most of my life there. My father's from there. My mum hails from Whangara, which is about 20 minutes out of Gisborne. For me, growing up on the East Coast, we didn't quite learn English until we were allowed to watch TV kind of thing, so everything was all in Maori. So that's why if you hear some Maori kids, or not these days, but back in the days, when we spoke, we dragged our R's, because it's just what everything was like. Sesame Street was our English was.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, that's why we sound pretty fresh kind of thing. But living on the East Coast was beautiful. Summer, beaches every day. The rivers, I met bush, a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, doing what Maoris do. And looking back at it now, can't even do that in one day of a month. For me, growing up, we had Kura Kaupapa, which was like the Māori school, and then we have Wharekura, which is secondary, and then carrying on to university and polytech, wherever you can go to after that. My iwi is Ngāti Pro. We say we hail from Poraurangi, but then also Maui. Maui was the one who fished up the North Island, so we claim him. Every other tribe doesn't like that though. But when Maui pulled up the fish, there's a story saying, when you've pulled up the fish, we've got our sacred mountain Hikurangi. There's a little lake right on the top of that. When he pulled his fish up, Maui's boat, Nukutai Memeha, got left on the mountain and is sitting in that lake now. We can sort of whakapapa back to how far that.
And when you say whakapapa, can you tell us what
like
whakapapa?
Genealogy, how far back we go through, because we always come from, say, like my dad come from his father come from his father, and it just gets carried on. Stories get carried on, coming all the way down to me, and then hopefully I can carry it on down to my kids, just so they know where they got a sense of belonging, where they come from, and they can go back there and tie back into the land and say they're from there as well. On my mother's side was where Derek Lardellie's from. There's a lot of rich, just like you said, rich history. We like to go back to know where we come from, so we know we're now 2 feet on the land, we can actually say we're from there kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then going into Wharekura, which again was quite hard because all we got taught was just Māori all the way through. It was hardly no English, and that was my first English classes when I done third form. I think that's year 9 now. That was my first introduction to an English kind of subject, and I was lucky to spell the, like T-H-E, that was my... It was really quite hard, so I wasn't the cleverest kind of person at school, but definitely one of the mischievous ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so once I picked up drawing, just like I said, my dad was a bone carver. My brother used to like drawing, and just carried on from there. And then, because I lasted at Wharekura for about 2 years, and then my dad wanted to put me into an actual high school. It was St. John's College in Hastings. I went to art school. I signed up for art because I was like, I'll do art, but then I just turned up to art class and we were drawing like apples and bananas in a bowl kind of thing, and I was like, is this art? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, what the hell is this? Instead of like drawing like moko patterns, tattoo kind of patterns, like taniwha, just heaps of like Māori stuff. And then I found I was drawing a square of a room, an apple on top of a table, and how the different shades would come around. So I only lasted like a half a year doing art at St. John's, and then I went, now I'm going to woodwork or something. I ended up doing something else. Even my teacher, he was like, this is pretty much what he said, the Māori stuff isn't going to get you nowhere. That's what he said. And I was like, oh. And the only person who really got angry at that was my grandmother. She was the one who's like, I want to pull you out of that school. You shouldn't be saying that. And I was like, oh. I was like, he doesn't know any difference. That's all he knew was Pākehā art. He didn't know anything about the Māori culture or anything. Pākehā art is drawing apples, drawing a tree, drawing shades, or not Māori. Yeah. Yes, I ended up drawing a shape of banana or shape of apple, and I ended up putting multi-patterns inside of it. And my teacher didn't quite like that, so I was like, give it up to my grandma. She was the one who pushed me even more, because I sort of started thinking that. I went, okay, that must be true. Shouldn't be doing that. And then my grandmother sort of snapped me out of it and goes, no, you just carry on what you're doing. You're going to be all right. And so I just carried on, still doing moko all over my school books, moko all over my school bag.
You're on the Trail Less Traveled, and I'm speaking with Tohunga Tā Moko. His name is Tama Raihania, and he works at Ototahi here in Queenstown, New Zealand. Tama, let's go back maybe 1,000 years. And I would love to hear the stories that were told to you when you were a child about how the Maori came to Aotearoa, New Zealand.
We've always been told there were 7 waka that came over, so there was Horauta, Takitumu, Taurawa, Kurhaupo, quite a few waka, and all came over to New Zealand because we come from Hawaii, which I'm still trying to figure out where Hawaii is. From when they come from Hawaii, they called into Rarotonga, the Cook Islands. Some waka went in, some waka didn't. The waka that didn't go in, they were the ones that thought, no, we don't know who the people are, they might be not friendly. So they sailed in there at night time. And they went in just pretty much to grab food. And they went in and then ended up being good with the people, with the local Rarotongan people. And there's stories even over there that I didn't know. I've been to Rarotonga twice now, and I did not know that they knew so much about New Zealand, because our waka stopped in there before they come to New Zealand. For our waka, because we're normally from the east coast of the North Island, there's hapu iwi sub-tribes where we're from that have migrated down here, so there's little tribes all over the place down here. Being the South Island all falls under Ngaitahu, which is the main tribe, which is one of the healthiest tribes at the moment. The Horauta waka is lying in an estuary in Muriwai. When you say waka, I mean like a boat, waka haurua. Normally boats used to come in like a double hull kind of boat. So I know the waka of Tainui is up in Kawhia. That's like the Kingitanga's boat, and the Kingitanga is the Maori king of New Zealand, and that's where their waka is lying. I don't know where the other ones are, but
we're recording the show in Tama Raihania's 1982 Holden Kingswood, which is a pretty badass car. It's quite warm, the sun's shining down on us, but we're drinking a chilly beverage. Tama, I would love it if you could give us a little Maori language lesson. We're losing so many cultures all over the world every day because the language is being lost. So I've been trying to learn Maori so that when I pronounce things like Pio Pio Tahe and Tūtarake Whānaua and Papatū Nuku, all these names, I'm saying them correctly for the guests who are visiting New Zealand, because they learn about your culture. You guys were here first, and so that's very important to me. I would love it if you could share some Maori language tips with us. Maybe just some basics or some groovy words. You can even say bad words. I don't care.
The main one is really kia ora, which is kia ora. That means to live long life. To say it, that says hello, greetings. It can also mean thank you. Kia ora. It's pretty much saying thank you, live long life. Another one, whare iti, which means toilet. Everyone needs one of those. So whare iti, that's a toilet. If you come down the South Island is known as Te Waipounamu, the water of greenstone waters. Te Ika Maui, that's the North Island, that's the island that Maui fished up, so Te Ika Maui. Motoka, that's pretty much for vehicle, motoka. You hear some of these kind of words. We have matariki, which is the Māori New Year. Yeah, we're quite lucky Māoris, we get 2 New Years. Yeah. The Pākehā New Years, which is say the English New Years, and then we have our own matariki New Years. So matariki is when the 7 stars come up, and that's when everyone starts planting their kumara, starts planting their potatoes, their sweet potatoes. It's just a good time to harvest and plant seeds. Waka means boat. Hikoi means walk.
Beautiful. Tama, it's time for a song. Can you please share a song with us that reminds you of your early childhood?
There's the kamate. It's actually the haka what the All Blacks do, but one of our teachers put it into a song called Kamate, 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 kaora, 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 tenei te tangata, tenei te tangata, puhururu, puhururu. Nana itiki mai, nana itiki, hupane, hupane, kaupane, fiti te rā. Wai wai takarina. Waha kamata kamata kaora kaora. Kamata kamata kaora kaora.
Tama, now I'd like to talk to you about moko, taking it back as far as you would like to go. One of the things I recently read was that Tā Moko tattooing originally came from Polynesia, and the word tautau was mispronounced by Lieutenant James Cook, and that's how we get the word tattoo that you see all over the world.
Yeah. For me, moko goes back as far as that. I was come back from, as we say, Hawaii. When it come to New Zealand, you could say the Polynesians, they have to give it up to them. They've sort of kept their tradition where Maori don't do as much uhi, as much tapping tattoo, where the Samoans still kept on to their mana and kept on to their strength, and they just carried on with it, where in New Zealand it's sort of, before Aotearoa people, it sort of faded out for Maori and just really got pushed out from the English, just telling them it wasn't a good thing to do. For how moko started, there was a story called Mataora. Mataora used to go out with Niwarika. It was Niwarika's partner. Something happened there as they were together. Mataora struck his partner Niwarika. Niwarika went back down to the underworld, where her father was Uetonga. Uetonga said to him, to Mataora, he pretty much gave him the lines of saying, "Don't hit my daughter ever again." And he was like, "Oh, how can I go back up to earth if everyone knows that?" And he goes, "Well, change your face." So he Uetonga painted Mataora's face with just paint. So Mataora went back up and they just thought he was beautiful, real good person. When it started raining, the paint came off his face, and then everyone just started laughing at him. So Mataora went back down to Uetonga and Americans. Everyone's laughing at me again. How can we make this stay there? And that's where he come from. He tapped all the pigments into his skin and went back up, and that's how moko come to New Zealand, and that's why we call it Mataora. And Mataora is another way of getting your whole face done. So moko kauai is your chin, kauai, and your Mataora, that's for a man, and your man can receive that, and a woman receives a moko kauai. For us, that's where moko come from, where Tā Moko come from. There's heaps of other stories, but that's the main one for us, what we go off. We don't know how the Polynesians, where they got it from, might be a different story, but they're definitely the ones, or who I look up to, who sort of kept their culture, sort of just blocked out all the negative stuff and just carried on keeping with the uhi. Because like we have the moko mokai, which are the dried up heads that the English took over back to England. They've just come back to New Zealand now, like in the last 3 years I think they've been back. Maori went back. Derek Lardeli was one of the main ones for that one, who brought all the heads back. We've had talks with them, and we didn't get to have the chance to see them ourselves, but our tutors said when they walked up to them, they seen so many lines. It looked like one line, but there was like 8 lines, and you said you couldn't even get it done with a tattoo machine. And these people were doing it with bird bones, and they were doing stuff that we can't do now with a machine, and the stuff they seen on there was crazy. They reckon you really look up to it and you see just really nice, fine little lines, and you thought it was only one line, but there was like 8 lines in this one little line. Just sort of blew us away. We weren't allowed to see photos there because you're not allowed to take photos of them, but...
Tama, can you tell us a little bit more about uhi? And for someone listening who doesn't understand that type of tattooing, you just mentioned that sometimes bird bones were used, like an albatross bird bone would have been used. So uhi, what's that? Uhi
is what we call uhi ito kiri, like putting it into your skin so it's all one. Yeah, uhi is like what we call tapping. You see, instead of a tattoo machine, you'd grab 2 sticks, you'd sort of have to find the right ones, and then you'd either use albatross bone, which was probably the best bone because it was the strongest but littlest, finest bone you could find. At the moment, there's a couple of artists who are coming back and they're using pig tusk at the moment, but yeah, uhi is using an albatross bone. But like making inks, even down to making inks, you wouldn't believe it. One of the main ingredients for making ink was dried up dog poo. Like when it turns that white, it was turned into a powder, so then you mixed it in with a couple of leaves and some other stuff and some silk, and that's how the ink come. But that was one of the main ingredients was dog shit. Maori didn't have dogs like what you see now, like Rottweilers, bulldogs. If you had, like, there's a couple in the museum, in the Te Papa Museum in Wellington. They've got a dog and they stuffed it, and there's blooming one crazy looking dog. I think it's not wouldn't put a collar around it or anything. But yeah, that was one of the main ingredients was dog poo. But that's like leaves, there's different leaves, because we have a thing called kokowai, like to make it red. It wasn't really a red to put in your moko, but like it sort of started coming in. But more on the meeting houses, they'd use all the red kind of colours. It's red and black really. For me, that's where I know where he comes from.
Tama, can you tell us a little bit about the scarification involved with the uhi as well? Because you are inserting the ink into the skin, but it's a wee bit different than using machine.
Yeah. Well, I've been told a couple of ways, and we sort of lost our knowledge and lost our way of knowing how it was done. Some people say the Tohunga Tā Moko would tap a line into the person's face or wherever he was getting done, getting his legs done, getting his puhoro done, or his peha done, or his face. And then they tap a line in it, and then someone else would come over and rub ink into the line. Just how you do it now, like they put the needle into the ink, the uhi into the ink, and then tap it in. So there was quite a few different ways, which Maori don't really know at the moment how it sort of happened. For me, I thought that would probably be the way, would be tap into the skin and then someone come over and then rub the ink into the skin.
If you're just joining us, we're on the Trail Less Traveled, speaking with Tama Raihania, who is a Tohunga Tā Moko, which is a moko specialist. Tama, let's talk about the word moko. What does it directly translate to? And then I'd love to dive into the symbolism for the Maori, one of them being that it is your whānau, your family. And one belief that if your family and your whakapapa, your genealogy is on you, maybe your mother being on your left side, your father being on your right side, that you always have your family with you, so you have no need for fear. They're going to be with you when you die.
Yeah, that was the main thing when you get your moko, is just representing your whānau. Because when you think about it, the moko is going to still be on you even before you pass away or even when you're gone. Like it goes with you to the whole. That's how we sort of see it. Like moko is going to be with you no matter what. That was one of the main things, was just to represent your family. Morely, back in the days, we got told it was more to represent your tribe, because each tribe in New Zealand have all different patterns and more different kind of styles. Once people did see your moko, now every moko looks the same, but back probably 1,000 years ago, some Maori could see another Maori and instantly say, oh, well, he is from the East Coast, or he is from the North, he's from the South, or he's from Te Arawa, he's from Ngāpuhi, just all different tribes. When you see it now, we've always been told, back in the day, as soon as you hit pretty much 12, 13, that you'd received your moko if you've done that duty, if you've been to war, if you've done certain things that your tribe have wanted you to do. People look at it like even being 18 still think that young, but Maori were getting moko when they were like close to 11, 12. Moko is like a signature, that's what you'd call it. Moko is like, tā moko here, eat the pepper, like sign your name on the paper. That's like pretty much sign your skin. That's what it's like for us. Mm-hmm. That's your signature. That's who you are. That's where you belong.
Tama, I follow you on Instagram because your artwork is phenomenal. When I'm looking at your artwork, you sometimes refer to it as different words, like some is a moko, some is a mahi.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn these different words and what they mean. Can you explain that?
Moko means like I said, tattoo. Mahi means like this is a bit of mahi, like this is what my job I done today. Oh. This is my uhi I done today.
Tama, going back to you being a tattoo artist, a Tohunga Tā Moko, a moko specialist, I'd like to talk to you about your apprenticeship with Derek Ladeli and some of your other teachers. What does it mean to become an apprentice, and how do you study Tā Moko?
Because I was living at the time, as I said, with Henare Brooking. He's one of the main heads for moko right now. He's the one doing moko papa anangas, like where you get your face done, your chin done. I was living with him at the time, and I was just sitting down at school one day, and Toi Hokere at our art school where I studied, he'd come running downstairs and he goes, do you want to do moko? I looked at him and I go, no, because like back in the day, if you got chosen to do the moko, you were the man. And I looked at him and I thought he was just because he's quite a cheeky bugger. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, here he goes, he's just trying to put my hopes up. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And he goes, no, come. And then I walked in, and Derek goes, oh, well, do you want to sign up? And I went, oh, and I'm still trying not to buzz out, trying to maintain, but I was like, yeah, definitely. Derek took a bit of time off and went back over to Italy for about 6 months, 8 months of the year to find out his history over there. So fella Pat Takoko took us. Well, we already knew what our patterns were, how to design, but it would come with hygiene, placement of the moko. You don't want to make a moko look too manly on a woman, different flows on the body, tattooing different body parts. A year of that, mainly for us, was hygiene, because moko had a bad name from being known as gang affiliated, prison. So what Derek and them tried to do was trying to wean it back away from that and see it more as an art form, and they've definitely done a good job of it. Took me nearly a whole year just to sort of get along, start knowing stuff like start knowing karakia and all of that, prayers before we do the mahi. We all sort of got paired up into twos. There was 3 pairs of twos, there might have been 6 of us, they all got taught. And one sort of a year they can, oh, well, you fellas can start tattooing now. And I always thought, because everyone thinks, oh, you tattoo on the pig skin or, you get fake skin. At Tohunga, it's not really like that. They're like, nah, you got to grab a person who thinks it can trust you, because that's what it's all about, is trust as well. And they were, oh, yeah. Everyone got paired up. I was the last one to get paired up. I couldn't find anyone. I was like kind of telling my cousins, oh, do you want to get some work done? They were definitely keen, but it was just me. I wasn't keen to do it. I was like, nah, I'm going to stuff this up. So Derek come back and he goes, oh, have you found someone to do yet? And I go, nah, uncle, I haven't found anyone. And he goes, I'll find you someone. And I go, oh, okay. But he used to live in the bad area of Gisborne, so he's got a lot of really still bad mates. We've got a gang down here called the Mongrel Mob. And Derek goes, oh, yeah, I'll find you someone. I go, oh, yeah, whatever. I was seeing who might just bring some park here. And he was just definitely keen to get something done. And then this big blooming 7 foot, probably weighing 300 kgs, he's walked in. I go, oh, who's this fella? And he goes, that's your client. And I was like, oh no, this fella's going to kill me. And that's, I ended up tattooing him. I was blooming scared. First of all, because I was doing this big, humongous gang member. He had all these bulldogs all over his face, which is the sign of the Mongrel Mob. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, oh, I go, what do you want? And he goes, oh, I want something covered up over this bulldog. And I was like, oh, still couldn't talk to him. I was trying to make small chat with him. And I just must have said the stupidest thing. And I went, oh, are you getting out of the gangs or something? He looked at me and he goes, what? And I go, oh, why are you covering your bulldog up? And he goes, just draw. I went, okay. That's what he said. I was like, yeah, ended up doing it. And with Moko, his payment was his pain in the skin. That was his payment. And I go, oh, yeah. And then I started tattooing, and Derek left the room, and it was just me and him in there. And I was like, oh, no. This is like, hold on. So I had to tell Derek to come back, and he goes, no, get back up there, carrying on. I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, we and him in this room for about 3 hours, where it should have only took an hour. Derek come back up and goes, oh yeah, and then Derek jumped on the machines, fixed up a couple of my lines. I don't know if he's been saying this. Derek took back off and he goes, oh, what's the payment? And I go, oh, no, nothing. Derek said, just your time and your pain and your skin was a payment enough. And he said, oh, okay, I come down to my car. And I go, oh, and I was like, oh no, he's going to beat me up down in his car. And he came down and he gave me like about 4 handloads of marijuana. and that was his payment. He goes, here, and I was like, oh, and I was telling the boys, I was like, did you fellas get paid? And they're like, no. I got told not to. I was like, did you get paid? I was like, no, but I got like 4 hands of marijuana, 10 loads of marijuana on me. Oh man, let's get out of here. So yeah, that was sort of my first actual introduction to Moko. I was on that fella. I even forgot his name, but yeah. And that's how I sort of got into Moko.
You're on the Trail Less Travelled, recorded in Queenstown, New Zealand, on the edge of Lake Wakatipu in a 1982 Holden Kingswood, owned by my guest, Tama Raihania, who is a Tohunga Tā Moko, which is a Tā Moko specialist. And we're talking about traditional Maori tattooing. Tama, you mentioned that there was, and perhaps still is for some people, an affiliation with tattoos and gangs in New Zealand, and that's also very strong in Japan. There's a lot of businessmen who actually have the most gorgeous full-on tattoos down their back and down the backs of their thighs, and they cover up with a business suit because it is immediately associated with gangs. So can we shed some light on that stereotype?
My grandmother, she's still a bit iffy about it, that I do moko. That's just how she got brought up. When the English came here, they sort of forced it out and they told people it's not a good look. And she sort of accepted about 2 years ago that was my job. That's how I sort of provide for my family. We just heard a month ago, in Japan, they've banned, you can only tattoo if you're a doctor, because they see it as a body modification. That's the actual law in Japan now. So it's all gone really underground at the moment, tattooing in Japan. I've got a few mates over there who play professional rugby over there, and you'd only find 1 or 2 tattoo shops in that big place, because you have to be a doctor, you have to have a doctor's certificate to tattoo. They just don't know what it is, which is fair enough that they don't really have to if they don't want to. But I've travelled over to Europe, London, I've been into some places, Dresden and East Germany. They're just fascinated with it, they can't get enough of it. In Queenstown anyway, there's more tourists, overseas people getting moko in Queenstown, only because it's the tourist capital of New Zealand at the moment. But I don't really like saying this, and it feels like they appreciate it more than Maori. They really like it, and they read into it more often. That's just my beliefs. They've come in and they've already done their homework. They tell us what they wanted about, what they've been through, what their journey is about. I think that's just awesome. But yeah, going back to that, still get quite a few people sort of put their nose up towards tattoos, or any kind of tattoos, really. Can't tell them what to do.
Tama, you said it was a wee prayer that you say, and you did some moko on my forearm that I'm grateful for. But before you even put the needle on my skin, you said a wee prayer. Why is it important to say that prayer before you put the machine onto the skin?
We do a prayer, just what we say, whakanoa, just to keep everything free, in case there's bad stuff around. Just so the moko just runs perfectly, so there's no hiccups or anything, Nothing bad's going to happen. Just real good wairua, like a good vibe in the room, just to keep us and the customer and you fellas just to keep you at ease, just to say we're here to do the job, and hopefully nothing bad is going to happen, and everything goes all good.
Tama, now I really want to talk to you about the process that you take as an artist, because you studied under other Tohunga Tā Mokos, and then you take it as an artist in your own route. Yeah. And then you can have your own creative process and see their body and their muscle structure and their skeletal structure, and are they a male or a female, and the placement on their body. I just love to hear a little bit more about your process as an artist.
With moko, it's like any tattoo, unless it's like just a real basic one. Well, it's good to get the person in, like how you done it, like you came in and we drew it all up, like it was just what you'd call a draw session, and then you'd draw it all up first. You'd map out where you want to get it done, what you want it to represent, and which it normally represents what you want it to do, like whānau or anything, or where you come from. Definitely, I'd recommend for myself is just to come in a couple of days earlier if you can, just so you can talk about it. Then you have an idea of how big you want to go. Because we draw it all up on pens with Sharpies first, then so you can sort of see it. And then because some people, once they see it, they either instant fall in love with it, or actually I might have it on my ankle, or I might have it on my arm.
Let's talk about the different patterns within. Like on mine, mangopare, which is a hammerhead shark. Yeah. For the Maori, it represents determination and strength, because the shark never gives up. Yeah. And for me, that represents my family in Africa. And then the koru, which is the fern coming to life. Yeah. And then the awa. Yeah. The rivers of the world that I've guided on and called home. Can you just tell us about some of the other patterns that you might draw, or those in particular?
The mangopare, which is a main figure in moko these days. We have a manaia, which represents a seahorse, but to Maori it represents kaitiaki, which is a guardian. So everyone sort of always wants a manaia with them, just so they're looking over them. Puhoro, the design puhoro, is like a sign of wittiness, kind of quick. So quite a few cheeky people get that one. The raudu, the taratara akai, the unonahi representing water, representing fish, taratara akai representing females, the hekengas, the popo lines, tani core patterns, just all representing, and really comes from the carving kind of school, but two different schools, like there's the carving school and the moko kind of school.
So we're talking about Maori carving in wood and bone. There is a relationship between the moko designs and what you might find in a wharenui?
Yeah. Moko and carving, they're two different schools. They were two. You either were a tā moko artist, like a moko artist back in the days, you either went down the moko or you went down the carving. Well, I don't know how to carve, I just went straight to moko, but a lot of carvers have come over to moko now, and probably just because there's a bit more mahi, carving does take a long time, and like a really long time, where a moko piece would only take a couple of hours. If you've done a carving, it would take about 2 to 3 weeks, it depends how big the piece is. Definitely two different kutas. I don't think it's the same thing, carving and moko. No, they're two different schools.
You are on the Trail Less Traveled, and we are recording on the edge of Lake Wakatipu with Tama Raihania, who is a Tohunga Tā Moko, a moko specialist here in Queenstown, New Zealand. And he works at Oto Tahi, which is located in downtown Queenstown. Tama, you were speaking about how it was quite a lot of tourists who are coming in here and getting moko done. But New Zealand, I think, is one of the most tattooed countries in the world. Have you heard anything about that? Can you reflect on that?
Yeah, it would definitely be up there, but there's definitely other cultures who, especially like the Samoans, much more heavily tattooed, because they've got really, like, we've got quite open space in our work, where the Samoans quite all packed all into one, which definitely looks nice. Like, yeah, they got all their uhiwa in there. Culture-wise, yeah, definitely. But El Salvador, you see all those gangsters, they're quite heavily tattooed. If culture-wise, I'd think, New Zealand Maori would be up there. Yeah, definitely.
Tama, can we talk about placement a little bit? when you're doing your whakapapa, your genealogy on your body, you'd save the left side for your mother because your heart is on your left side. The right side would be for your father. Only a man would get a full facial tā moko, and a woman might get the chin moko, which is called a kowai. Then I also heard that you save your back for last because your back is your past.
Yeah.
So maybe can you just reflect on placement a little bit?
The full face, that's definitely for males. The kowai, the chin, that's for females, even though some males have just only got their chins done.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get your moko kowai or your mathora done, you definitely have to have done something for the tribe, or like if you've done a certain task. You might have thought that, but then you go and see the moko, the tohunga. He could have go, oh, well, yeah, you might have done that, but there's a lot of bit more stuff you should do before you can receive your moko kowai or your matora. But like how you said, yes, definitely the left side is for your mother and her side, her whakapapa on her side, and then your father. When you get your legs done, like what we call a peha or your puhoro, normally start with the lower back and then coming down onto your bum cheeks, onto your rapi, and then onto your legs, wrapping right around. A lot of men have it at the moment, but women are also getting it as well, and which I think is blimmin' cool. There's nothing sexier than a woman wearing a puhoro, all their legs done, I think. That's the thing with moko artists, they're always trying to push new, different boundaries. So it's like normally the puhoro would stop at the top of the knees, but like, then you have fellas going over the knee, then onto the legs. So they're sort of going like 3/4 sleeve pretty much on one leg, which is, I thought was cool, man. It was awesome.
Tama, what is your favorite thing about your work here in Queenstown and doing artwork on so many people? You're in high demand. You're a very famous artist. Your art is done here in Queenstown, but then some of your clients leave and they go to places all over the world, and your artwork is on people's bodies all over the world. I'm just wondering, what's one of your favorite things about doing your work?
I just love doing moko. My partner, she's a school teacher, and she hates going to work every day. I wake up every morning, I'm like, man, I can't wait to get to work. And just meeting new people. One sort of freaked me out. I done a lady, she was from Australia, Melbourne. I done her inside of her forearm. She flew back the next day, she come back Monday just to get her other forearm, and then left on another flight that night. I go, what did you come back for? She goes, oh, I just wanted to get my other tattoo done. I was like, so you flew all the way back to Queenstown? She was like, yeah, it's a direct flight, so it's not. I was like, oh, jeez. I was like, okay. Definitely, stuff like that sort of blows me away. I'm like, I must be doing something right if she's coming all the way from Australia. Germans, French, Italians, when they receive mokos, I don't know if it's just because of the All Black kind of scene, like the Sonny Bill rugby player kind of scene, but they really appreciate it, and they just, I've had like a couple of clients cry, and I'm like, oh, did it hurt that bad? And she says, oh no, these are good tears. Okay. And yeah. Plus you always, if you see them in town, they always get you a beer or four later on that day too, so it's good to do that.
Hello, you beautiful people. Thank you for listening to the show. We are just going to take a short break for a message from our sponsor.
It was while we were living internationally that Explorer Maps first started, when Chris and his brother Greg decided to join forces and bring the maps to the whole wide world. Hi, this is Vanessa, Chris's wife. Each map is a labour of love, and I am lucky enough to see them all grow step by step from the early research and planning stages onto a large white piece of paper, through penciling, inking, and finally seeing the real magic happen as Chris adds the colour. Which map will you get to help you treasure your own special times? Please be sure to use the promo code Mandela for a discount when you visit explorermaps.com.
Tama, what do you love about Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud? Why do you call this place your home, and why should someone listening come and visit?
Best reason I really love this country is because I'm from here. I can whakapapa back to many years ago, thousands of years. Like my family, my grandfather before his grandfather, it's just all come down the line. And I don't know, it's just real cruisy. I've been to a lot of places overseas, and everything, like especially London, everything just seems a bit uptight kind of thing. Like everyone's always in the rush. But like in New Zealand, if people just came over, you'd sort of see it. Even clients stay in their backpackers and they break down, and the New Zealanders will just pull over and start helping them out, because of stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that happens all the time. I was like, oh, and if that was in America, if that was in Germany, no, that wouldn't happen. You'd just be there waiting for ages. So I don't know, just very real helpful people, I suppose. That'll be probably one of the main reasons. And the food. I love my kai. Kai's the best thing.
Tell us about the food that you like to eat here.
In New Zealand, we're more inland in the Wakatipu in the Queenstown area, but like it's only a 2-hour drive to Invercargill where you could go knee deep and grab you like a feed of pawa, which is abalone, or kina, like some sea urchins, and that's probably my favourite. Yeah, just stuff like that. It's real easy. I suppose we're just not utilising it a bit more, but like I said, just real cruisy, and that's just how Kiwis are, I suppose.
Tama, thank you so much for your artwork on my body and for making time to join me here on the Trail Less Travelled.
Cool. Now that's all good, whānau. Yeah, thank you. No, this was a bit of an eye-opener, but this is cool.
Tama, can you share with us 3 bits of advice?
Tattoo-wise, moko-wise, if you'd ever thought of getting a moko, definitely come in prepared, like knowing what you want. Some people do come in and just say, oh, here's my forearm, and then you could draw something up and they go, oh, I don't like that. And then, so it's definitely best to come in something knowing about yourself, your family. Definitely, because for Maori, family is a big thing. That's what we all rely on. So that is one of the main figures in moko. But yeah, that'll be one. Try and be a bit more active. Yeah, get out there, do a lot of more walking than driving. And my third one will be just be humble.
Hello, my name is Emily Cluis and I am the Community Coordinator for Montana Wildlife Federation. Montana Wildlife Federation proudly advocates for wildlife habitat and public access in Montana. My conservation tip of the week is to take the children in your life to your local library. Together you can borrow books to learn about birds and butterflies, bees, fish, wolves, bear, deer, and elk, and beyond. My family loves books that tell stories from the animal perspective, as well as nonfiction informational books. You can also find guides on local plant identification and use them to explore the world outside. Together, you can learn about the importance of wildlife and habitat. Montana Wildlife Federation has recently started a youth outreach program that focuses on encouraging the youth across Montana to get outside. Our mission is simple: to inspire the next generation of conservationists to fall in love with the world around them. To learn more about how to contribute to this work, please visit montanawildlife.org.
That's it for this week's adventure, my friends in Missoula and around the world. But until next week, please remember, conservation is not a spectator sport. Living in Missoula is a privilege. With privilege comes responsibility. Please get educated and engaged. Speak up on behalf of wildlife and wild places. And if you think you're too small to make a difference, well, then you've never spent the night with a mosquito. For those of you who are still listening, thanks. The song that you hear is original music created by my friend Steve Saroff and myself. To support our music, you don't have to buy anything. You can find our music on Spotify and Apple Music. And to support us, simply add a song to your playlist. This song that you hear is called Didgeridoo Heartbeat, and all of our original music can be found when you search for Mandela van Eeren on Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you so much for supporting local radio, local podcasts, and local music.